Well, a big concern among the COVID-19 pandemic and the ensuing lockdown is education in the country, of course, which has come to a standstill, whether it's schools, whether it's colleges, whether it's placements, whether it's entrance exams. We've discussed this in a couple of earlier episodes of Government Matters, but we do realize it's a very grim situation and there are constant updates. So we thought it made sense to bring this to you again. We have Kritika Sharma, who covers education for ThePrint, to answer your questions live on this episode of Government Matters. Kritika, let me begin with this Unesco report that has come out. You've also done a story on it, so do log on to theprint.in to read Kritika's story. What does it say about the number of students who've been impacted because of COVID-19 in India?
Yeah, so Ruhi, it has huge numbers. It says that 157 crore learners, students across the world have been affected because of the pandemic, the ongoing situation, and closure of education institutions, both higher and school education institutions across the world.
Right.
If we talk about India, it says that more than 32 crore students, that is both at the school level and at the college and university level, have been affected. Now, when we say affected, it's at various levels.
Right.
Say, for example, when we talk about school students, especially the secondary school students from class 9 to 12,
right,
they have been affected because the board exams are for class 10 and 12 students.
Right.
And as we all know, the board exams had to be postponed. So they are affected because they don't know when will the exams be held. Then the same age group students are affected because the entrance exams have been postponed for medical, engineering, architecture, a lot of these subjects.
Right.
Then when we talk about college students, college and university students, they have a bigger issue to deal with.
Right.
Because their college exams are not being held. Most of the exams are held between March to April. Then the colleges and the universities break in for a vacation from May, and then the next session usually begins by July to August.
Right.
But this year, everything just has gone helter-skelter. So they are all worried. So when the report talks about students being affected, this is what it talks about.
Right. So Kritika, let's go one by one. We'll deal with various aspects of the education sector. But let's begin with schools. Now we know online classes have been taking place. How effective have they been? What kind of feedback have we received about them?
So the feedback about online classes is actually mixed. Good schools, private schools that have the infrastructure to conduct online classes have been doing okay, because the other end, the receivers end, which is the students, they also have all the facilities. They have the means to, they have internet, Google, WhatsApp, everything to access those classes. So the teaching and learning is happening fine there. But when you come to a class where there is no internet connection, or maybe broken internet connection, connectivity issues, this is the class which is having issues. So there were some students that I spoke to in government schools. They said that we have been facing issues with in terms of internet connectivity. So what the teachers are trying to do is they're calling them separately and telling them, solving any doubts if they have. So it's a very mixed kind of situation, and India is also very new to this whole online education system.
Right. Now Kritika, moving on to say entrance exams. What is happening on that front? Is there uncertainty there as well?
Yeah, there is uncertainty. The status quo remains the same. The last time we discussed that entrance exams have been postponed, and the government is looking at a date, say towards the end of May or the beginning of June. There has been no change there.
Right.
So
now that the lockdown is extended till the 3rd of May, that seems even more like it could get postponed even further.
It's unlikely that the exams will take place by the end of May now. Although there is no official word on that, but since the lockdown has extended, because once the lockdown is lifted, the preparations can also be done at the exam centers and everything.
Right.
But now the lockdown is extended, so further postponement is expected.
Now an important aspect of education is placements when it comes to, say, professional courses, or when it comes to technical degrees. For instance, when you go to an IIT or an IIM, how are they being impacted? Because there are companies are obviously cutting costs across the globe. Yeah,
so that's also one very interesting aspect of this whole pandemic, because see, for institutions like IITs and IIMs that have the creme de la creme, which you say, they have already been placed, because there the placement happens between December to March. Most of the students have been placed, but there are issues happening there as well, because I mean, I think like a week back, there was this issue about American research firm withdrawing its offers to students, you know, where they had already given offers to them. They took the offers back. So such issues are happening. When you talk about other institutions, technical institutions, apart from IITs and IIMs, they're not even thinking as far as placement goes, because their first concern is how to get done with the examinations and how to kind of sort this whole academic issue, and then they'll think about the placements. But having said that, the government has requested the companies that please don't take away job offers which you've already given to the students, and please do come for the placements, because, you know, if anything, these students can take you out of the economic recession. If that's what your thought is, these students can only help you with the research and everything.
Well, you know, I mean, the government can at most urge the private sector, but can't really enforce that remains a concern. I'll start taking a few viewer questions. There's a question from Kaushal Jha. Is there any specific time for universities and colleges to reopen?
See, usually the time is between July to August, as we just talked about. So, from whatever I've gathered from my sources, that should not be affected so as much. It could be at the max a delay of 1 month. What is more problematic right now is having the examinations, getting the examinations
because
done.
This is the exam season.
Because this is the exam season. If you don't pass the second year, how will you get promoted to the third year? And it's more crucial for the third years, because then they have to get admission in the postgraduate program. So those are the things, but usually it starts from July to August.
Shashank Agarwal wants to know what will happen when exams like NEET, UG and JEE mains will occur. Well, I suppose the viewer wants to know that, you know,
about the academic session. This is a lot of, I mean, a lot of students are really worried. Even I get messages and calls from students asking this. But see, because this is such a situation, this is an unprecedented scenario. If the exams get delayed, obviously the admissions will get delayed, and and henceforth the session will also begin late. So students do not have to worry. If the exams are late and the admissions are late, the session will obviously begin late. And this is something, you know, Ruhi, that the foreign universities have already started doing. The foreign institutes, they are telling students that if you can't join us in August, September, then come and join us in January.
You know, in fact, Boston University has postponed its session till 2021 Jan.
So, a lot of universities are doing that. So I'm sure there will be some kind of arrangement that Indian institutes will make.
There's a question from Nidhi. Any information on how the semesters and years are going to be calculated at national level now, as not all students and not all colleges or schools are equipped enough for online classes? So we come back to the point of online classes. It's actually an interesting question, that whether these months or these weeks of online classes would actually at the end of it also be counted as classes being taken. You will not go back to that academic curriculum again?
No, I think they are being counted as classes, because prior to this, prior to the MHA guidelines that came yesterday, there was some discussion that, you know, schools and colleges might break into an early summer vacation kind of a thing, or, you know, there will be a shift. But now that MHA has clearly said that academic session should go on, so it is going on through online mode. So I think the government wants to maintain that uniformity for the session, because if you skip a couple of months, then this whole thing is going to go haywire. So, which is why this is going to continue.
So then this obviously puts students who don't have access to regular internet, as you mentioned earlier, at a disadvantage.
That is true.
There's a question from, well, I don't have the name of this viewer, but what about students who do not have access to online education? I think this is exactly what we are talking about, especially with vernacular medium schools. You know, so that is, our state government's doing something differently, because as far as schools, the state government schools are concerned, the vernacular medium schools are concerned.
So I am not really aware about different states, because they don't have issued any specific instructions, but Delhi government has started online classes. The Directorate of Education is doing that. Also today, NCERT, which designs the curriculum for the entire country, for school curriculum, they have issued guidelines on how to teach students when there is no internet, how to teach students when there is availability of internet. So this no availability of internet at the school level, at least they're trying to tackle it through different means. One is by suggesting, because see, even if you don't have internet, most of the people have television.
Right.
They, the DD is there, then DTH.
Some access to
Some
information.
access to
Right.
information is there. So they're telling kids to log on to a certain channel at a certain time because they have online classes. So read from there. If you have any doubt, these are the number of teachers, call up the teachers. For the younger children, the parents can help them. So this is what they're trying to do when there is no internet availability, through TV, through phone calls or messages or things like that. Because really there is no other option right now.
Right. There's a question from Rishabh Yadav. What would be the impact on the placement of short-time professional courses? So we talked about IITs and IIMs, but I think this is a question more to do with, the shorter courses, say diploma courses, etc.
It's really not possible to say at this point, although I don't think the diploma courses and things like that are going to be affected as much. And really you can't say it in context of the COVID-19 pandemic. It all depends on how the economy goes, and you'll have to really wait and see how this goes on.
There's a question, because of the current situation, students are facing psychological issues like anxiety and panic attacks. Is the government doing anything to deal with it? In fact, there's a subsequent question which is linked, which is that is the government creating awareness among students about COVID-19? So it's not just about ensuring the academic calendar or the academic year goes on uninterrupted. It's also about addressing the concerns and fears and anxieties of students.
Yeah, totally. So I mean, the authorities are aware about it, and in fact the ministry at their level have asked institutions to counsel children, and institutions at their own individual level. Private schools are doing it, universities are doing it. Jamia has started a counseling helpline, AMU has started a counseling helpline. So there are things like that. I mean, institutions at the individual level are also trying to reach out to students. And in fact, this morning I was watching a channel called Kishore Manch, a program which is a government-run program, where they were talking about what is COVID-19, how it is spread, some kind of awareness, and also to tell children that okay, you're not alone in this. The whole world is fighting this.
There's a question from Prithvi Nagala. Is there any chance that the IITs and IIMs will cancel this year's admissions if COVID doesn't subside for another 6-8 months? Well, the hope is that it will subside sooner than that, but
I really can't answer this question because nobody wants this pandemic to go on for so long, but definitely they will not cancel the admissions because there is a provision to have the to have the JEE mains and then the advance. So definitely admissions will happen, but as I earlier said, the session could get delayed if the situation doesn't get better in a couple of months.
Utsav Shukla has a question. Can the government give permission for colleges to function in case of limited opening of the economy? So 20th April, of course, certain other services have been included in essential services which will be opened up, but I suppose the question is that if say on the 3rd of May you open it up further, try and return to some degree of normality, of course not full normality, then is it possible for education institutions to open, or is that among the last categories that would be open?
No, so that is happening in a very limited way. So in fact yesterday only the AICT, which is the technical wing for education in the country, they have sent out a circular saying that if there are any students in and around the vicinity of a college who do not have the access to internet, this is coming back to the earlier question of no access to internet. So AICT is saying that if a student doesn't have access to internet, please let them come to your college and use the internet facilities and let them study. So I think this limited opening, it could happen. It is a possibility.
So I think the next question is also related to internet access, and it is a legitimate question. It's from Urvi. What about the study system of Kashmir where there is limited access to internet?
Yeah, so that definitely is a problem. But then again, I said that wherever there is a problem of internet, these are alternate means that have been suggested to go through TV. Because these TV channels, the educational programs are not just for the school education. It's also for the college level. So students could go to those channels and maybe connect through their professors through phone calls and things like that.
There's a question from Madhurima. What about Anganwadi schools?
See, Anganwadi doesn't really have a lot of learning involved.
Not formal classes.
Not formal classes. It's more to do with midday meal and taking care of the child and the mother. So midday meal is another thing which we've discussed in one of the earlier episodes of Government Matters, that various state governments are trying to ensure that kids get get midday meals, which also it's a problem in some states. And I was speaking to somebody and they told me there is some problem in Bihar,
Right.
although I couldn't check it myself. But there are issues in various states. But Anganwadi, when you talk about it, it's not formal education.
Right.
So if kids are getting meals and so
Right.
I think that's sorted there.
Right. So there's a question from Samir, which actually is a major point of concern about what the government is doing regarding fee hike by private institutions. Now,
Yeah.
that has been a problem as far as schools are also
As far as
concerned. The
schools
fee
are-
hike and the fact
Yeah.
that fees are continued to be charged even for transport, etc. when there is
Yeah.
no school that's on.
Yeah. So see, this again falls in the jurisdiction of states. So various states are telling, state administration is telling the schools not to charge the fee. Some people are, in fact, some states are telling schools not to charge fee at all during this time.
Right.
Gujarat has said this, West Bengal has said this, don't charge fee at all. If you're charging a fee, then don't charge an increased fee. So
Right.
state governments at various levels are trying to intervene.
Right.
So, and I think Delhi government is also likely to pass an order in a day or two to
Curb the fee
curb
hike.
the fee hike and
Right.
So
Well,
issue.
I have some other questions, but unfortunately we are running out of time, so I won't be able to take them. But Kritika giving us a rounded perspective of the state of education in the country and how it has been impacted because of COVID-19 to all the students who are watching us. Don't panic, you don't have to worry. Everybody is dealing with the same problem.
Yeah.
So there will be a solution that the government as well as your institutions will come up with. Thank you so much for watching Government Matters. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel.